Heathens, and welcome to my channel. I am Beauty Heathen, and my channel is dedicated to the exploration of paganism through the medium of cosmetics. If you enjoy this subject matter or find my content of interest, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and set the bell to all to be notified of when I upload new videos. Today's episode is dedicated to the subject of goddess Isis. And as always, cosmetic practice head sprayed with a layer of hairspray. I'm using LA Girl Pro Coverage HD foundation in the color Toast, and it has been set with the Becca Hydra Mist setting spray. Setting powder. It's been a long day. And I'm using the NYX Professional Makeup eyeshadow base in white. And then everything was set. Again, as always, if you are looking for reviews, my channel is not for that purpose. Do not use the cosmetic application that I'm doing here as a reflection of the cosmetics themselves. These heads do not have skin texture, which I try my best to give it some texture with the foundation and the setting powder, but cosmetics do not always react well on these heads. So if you're looking for reviews of products, I highly recommend any of the plethora of review channels that are out there, and not mine. If you're looking for educational content, an occasional laugh, and even more so, a laugh at me when I horribly fail with cosmetic looks, I'm your girl. So, with all of that, on to the content. Before I booted this up, I took a couple minutes to take a look at one thing, and I was curious as to excuse me, what materials ancient Egyptians used in order to make their cosmetics. Obviously, we know of carmine, which is crushed beetles. That originated in ancient Egypt. So that practice of crushing up beetles for the red pigment started in thousands of years ago. But there were two other products that they named in the article that I'd found. And of course I didn't bring my water upstairs. One of which is galena and the other one is malachite. Both of which are crystals. I will sit here and go through again that you should never purchase or use any products that contain crushed up malachite or especially galena, because those two crystals or minerals are highly toxic. I'm looking at you, Lemaire. If you guys missed it, I recommend going to take a look at Jen's Loves Reviews video on lip balms. I think it was her second one where she really started getting into the different lip balms, and she mentioned that Lemaire puts crushed malachite in their lip balm. Please, I know it's very tempting, and it's the thought process of, oh, it's bougie and it's spa-like and it's good for me, and don't put anything with crushed malachite anywhere, especially where you have the potentiality to ingest it. Again, it is a very toxic crystal. It's one of those crystals that you absolutely do not put in water to make crystal water. Same with galena. Same with many crystals, but those are that's a subject I already started on talking about, and if you check up here, I will link the video, hopefully, if the system lets me. If not, I will link it at the end, and you can find it in my videos. Natural does not mean safe. So it was just interesting to see the different ways that they had come up with pigments in ancient Egypt. Let me see. Trying to see if I can knock off a little bit more of this loose powder. I'd actually posted a photo of part of my process to Twitter on my personal account, and said, nobody show this to Robert Welsh. I'm new to finding his content, but I absolutely love it, and I find him humorous. I love that he does his makeup while reading off ghost stories and things of that nature. So if you haven't heard of him before, go check out his channel. He's awesome. I love him. I love his brother James, who does skincare type videos, and they're twins. So if you haven't watched them before, I do highly recommend them. Now, I'm trying to figure out where I want to start with this. I'm going to try to do a look that coincides with Egyptian cosmetics, but we'll see how it comes out. I'm a little nervous to do this one, I'm not gonna lie, because if you haven't seen any of my previous episodes, it's kind of clear that I'm not particularly an excellent makeup enthusiast at the moment, but my skills are evolving. I'm going to start off with the Ulta Beauty Box palette that I've been using for blushes and highlights. And I think I'm gonna try the Matte Rose blush. I think it's gonna be the closest that I can mimic a color that would have been possible for them to make in ancient Egypt. Isis is the goddess of many names and forms. She is the beautiful young princess and the grieving, poverty-stricken widow dressed in rags. She is the most powerful sorceress on earth, and she is the poor, frightened single mother forced to beg for herself and her son. As the mistress of magic, she knows all and can do all. And let me switch brushes because that one is not applying things as I would like it to. Let's try this one. She can restore the dead, bestow the gift of fertility. There we go. That's a little bit better. Heal the sick and protect seafarers or sailors, or basically anyone traveling across the ocean. There we go, that's a little bit better. There is no miracle that she can't perform. She taught women to grind corn, bake bread, spin flax, weave cloth, and perhaps most importantly, she taught them to tame men so that the women could live with them. Isis was introduced to Rome in 86 BCE. And if you are not familiar with historical context of years, BC stands for the before Christ. When we talk about a non-religious term, BCE means before current era. There is no year zero, so it goes basically from countless time period, hundreds of thousands of years BC down to 1 BC. Then you skip over 0 with the birth of Christ, and it goes to 1 CE, current era, or AD. So I'm trying to give some sort of context for timeline. We're talking thousands of years ago here. And actually in Rome, and to Rome, she became very popular because her followers and her following was open to everybody, including women and slaves. She was so beloved by the people that even after paganism was abolished, her last official temple on the Egyptian island of Philae, forgive me if I'm butchering that, I am not a linguist, survived until 537 CE, current era, and when it was finally ordered shut. Votive statues of Isis, Osiris, and Min were confiscated and sent to Constantinople. Temple clergy were imprisoned, and the temple was converted, of course, into a Christian church. Going off script at the moment, there is even a lost Temple of Isis in the UK. So that might be this one, but I'm not entirely sure. So I wanted to mention that. Let's see, for highlighter, I'm gonna go with something more golden. I'm thinking this gold highlighter. I'm trying to stay somewhat true to the skin tone. Okay. Worked on the cheeks, not so much on the nose, the cupid's bow, and the chin. Let's see. Trying to decide how to best to go about this, because here's where I'm thinking right now. With regards to ancient Egyptian cosmetics, they were more cream-based. So I'm trying to think, do I want to try using the JCat palette to do the eyeshadow, or do I want to stick to the tried and true Kathleen Lights ColourPop one? I'm thinking Kathleen Lights. We'll see how this works. For a base color, just trying to think here. That one may be too fluffy. Sorry, just looking for something a little bit different for a brush. I'm going to go with Jasper in the crease and go from there. We're going to wing it a bit. Isis was worshipped as the ideal mother and wife, as well as patroness of nature and magic. She was a friend to the slaves, sinners, and the downtrodden, and would also listen to the prayers of the wealthy. Isis became a symbol of Pharaoh's power, and Pharaoh was said to have been born of Isis. Got a little patchy in there, trying to fix it a little bit. And the throne that Pharaoh sat upon was said to be provided to him by Isis herself. After Isis was assimilated with Hathor, she was sometimes depicted with the twin horns of a cow on her head with a solar disk between them. If you look up ancient art or any sort of art with Isis, that is, I'm finding at least, how she is most frequently depicted. But obviously, the cosmetic practice head is not wearing a headdress or wig or braids, and I felt it would be kind of stupid to try to draw that on the forehead. And of course I transferred some. Yay, it brushed away. Woohoo! Accidentally had painted her head a little bit with the eyeshadow. Let's see. I'm going to try. Maybe some of this pearl shade. It might be a little bit too light. I mean, just try a different color. Isis was the first daughter of Geb, or Jeb, the earth god, and Nut, the sky goddess. Because of her parentage, Isis could balance both heaven and earth. She married her brother Osiris, and as a moon goddess, she gave birth to Horus, the god of the sun. Together, mother and child created all life and sustained it. I'm just trying to... Let me just skip ahead for a moment, because I want to... Yes, it is. Okay. I was just trying to make sure that there was a certain aspect that's covered in this. Isis, the mother of life, also has a contradictory aspect. She was also the crone goddess of death. That title comes from what happened with her brother / husband, Osiris. Incest between brother and sister was allowable for gods to keep the bloodlines pure. You can even also find it prevalent in the lineages of the pharaohs. It was not uncommon for brothers and sisters to marry for the exact same reason. At least in ancient Egypt, Pharaoh was often deemed and considered to be one of the gods or godlike. Just clear off some of that powder. As usual, the left eye is always a little bit weird. I'm not quite sure why it is. I'm just blending out this color a little bit. Why this eye always seems to be a lot more wet and creamy after I apply the eyeshadow base. I'm not sure. But when Osiris became her husband, he became the first king of Earth. Set, her brother, was jealous and killed Osiris, and sealed up his coffin and threw it in the river Nile. Isis grieved mightily, shredded her robes, and chopped off her hair. Then she set out to find the body of her husband so she could bury him with proper honor and respect. As she searched for her love, she met Queen Astarte of Phoenicia. Making a long story short, Astarte realized that Osiris's body was hidden in her palace. Isis carried him back to Egypt and hid it in the swamps of the Nile Delta, where she prepared for his funeral. Unfortunately, as with many of these things, her brother Set found the coffin and, well, furiously hacked Osiris's body into 14 pieces and scattered them in different directions. Let's see. You know what? I don't know if they had a purple color or not, but we're gonna go for it. Purple is usually associated with royalty. I'm just trying to determine. I know I've been doing a lot of purple looks lately, but this is amethyst. Just trying to hold the cosmetic practice head still a bit because otherwise it keeps bouncing around on me. And I'm sure that's as unpleasant for me to apply cosmetics to as it is for you to watch me apply cosmetics to. So, on to the 14 pieces of Osiris. Isis went on to search she shapeshifted into a bird, and she went off in search of all the pieces of her husband's body. She recovered 13 of the 14 pieces. The only piece that she never found was her husband's penis. And through her magic, she worked to put Osiris's body back together and mummify him. But in doing so, in using her magic, she became pregnant. And 9 months later, gave birth to their son, Horus. Okay, I am being able to do this with my right hand today. Sometimes when I try to apply cosmetics to the left eye using my right hand, it doesn't work so well. This tale is said to be the first case of embalming and mummification, at least wise in the folklore, which explains why pharaohs, etc., would be embalmed and put in sarcophagi. And of course I lost my place. Okay, after all of this, Osiris was free to... After she gave birth, Osiris descended and became the king of the underworld and ruled over the dead. Isis is often shown wearing the symbol of an empty throne on her head, suggesting her husband's absence, and she herself was the seat of the pharaoh's power. She carries the Ankh, the Egyptian hieroglyph of eternal life. When in her funerary role, and as the protector of the dead, she is shown with wings. The ancient Egyptians believed that the Nile River flooded each year because of the tears Isis wept for her dead husband, and every year there was a ceremonial death and rebirth ritual. Scroll down, and here's the part that some people may not like, but oh well, I'm not here to be diplomatic. I'm just here to go based off of history. I think on the upper area I'm gonna put moonstone, even as a shimmer. I think it's a nice golden hue, and I think it'll go well with the skin tone, because obviously the pearl is not picking anything up and you can't really see any of the color. Come on, moonstone, don't fail me. Oh, you know what? It's not moonstone I intended to use. Let's try that again. Just clean out the brush a little bit. And this is where I'm reminded to clean my freaking color switches so that this process becomes a little bit easier. I'm sorry, I intended to use sunstone. That one should pick up nicely. There we go. Now we're getting some color. But when Christianity was trying to gain a foothold over paganism, the mother and child images of Isis and her son Horus in the many temples of Isis across the land were converted into images of Mary with her infant son Jesus. And this is actually something that, if you've never seen Da Vinci Code, I have to say that that movie was really well done, and they did a really good job covering a lot of symbolism and aspects of paganism that were corrupted and changed into something else by the Christian church. And in the opening scene of that movie, when the character, whom I can't remember the name of, but it was played by Tom Hanks, he's giving a talk to what appears to be some college students, and he asks the audience, what symbolism do you equate this imagery to? And one of them is of goddess Isis with her son Horus, and someone from the audience screams out and says, the Virgin Mary and her son Jesus, and he went, nope. Let's see. Now, before I try this next part, I am going to ask very kindly that if I horribly fail with this, which I most likely will, I have absolutely no experience doing any kind of a wing or Egyptian style cosmetic look. It's literally called the Eye of Horus. I'm just trying to bring it up for reference a bit. Now, if you have never really heard of the Eye of Horus, or, well, most people have seen it, there is a very particular meaning to the different pieces of it, and it's actually very mathematical. So I make absolutely zero promises I'm going to be able to do this, but I will do my best. Let's see what I can do. I know I should be reading, but this part is going to take all the concentration I can muster at the moment. So, forgive me. I'm not going to attempt the eyebrow. It's just not going to work. Let's see, the iris of the eye would be approximately here. I don't think I've ever seen that aspect. I actually think the Eye of Horus was mainly on men. Sorry, I'm having to turn this a bit because I want to do my best to get this line as straight and equal as I can. Let me actually bring up I am going intentionally thick on the line. Not quite equal, but almost. Because the eyeline, or eyeliner I should say, when you look at ancient Egyptian artistry and painting and hieroglyphics and all that kind of thing, is very, I guess you could say, blocky. I don't quite know how else to put it. No. Okay, let's try adding goddess in front of that, because that is not the imagery that I'm looking for. Thank you very much. I think you can guess what imagery came up when I typed in Isis without me saying it. Come on, give me anything of her face. There we go. Nope, okay, she does not have the Eye of Horus, she just has very thick liner, which kind of goes down a bit in this inner corner. So it's a very long, accentuated line, apparently. So where we now highlight the inner corner, they darkened it. At least wise in the art. Okay. I think that is somewhat decent. Okay, let's see here. So as I said, a lot of the iconography and images of mother and child between Isis and Horus were converted to Mary and infant Jesus. While images of Isis holding the body of her dead husband across her lap got changed and corrupted and converted into Mary with the crucified Jesus. Let's see, what can I do for a lip color here? You know, I know I used Mai Tai yesterday, but I won't think it would add a nice color without being too bright on the skin tone. Yeah, I think that's too bright. I think we'll go with the J-Cat palette and the deep red color that's there. I think that would be a better tone. Isis worship was revived in modern times by the Order of the Golden Dawn, who recognized Isis as a powerful triple goddess. Later, she was incorporated into modern Wicca by Gerald Gardner. Many contemporary pagan traditions have adopted Isis as their patron goddess, and she is often found at the heart of Dianic Wiccan groups and other female-centered covens. Let's see. Just trying to... I'm trying to put red without it being overly red. I actually want it to be a little bit more muted today. Although modern Wiccan worship does not follow the same structure as ancient Egyptian ceremonies that were once used to honor Isis, today's Isaic covens incorporate Egyptian lore and mythology into a Wiccan framework. Now, with all of that said, not all of the people who worship goddess Isis and revere her or follow the Egyptian pantheon are Wiccans, so I actually have a friend who is very drawn to the Egyptian pantheon, and she is not even remotely close to being Wiccan. So just making that little note there. There are countless eclectic Wiccan and pagan groups throughout the world that have selected Isis as their deity. Because of the strength and power displayed by Isis, spiritual paths that honor her are popular, and her worship has seen a resurgence as part of the goddess-oriented spirituality that has become a notable part of the New Age movement. I'm just scrolling down, seeing if there's anything that I missed. Hey, you know what? That kind of makes sense then. A protective amulet that she wore was usually formed of the stone carnelian, which I know I have somewhere around here, but I'm not seeing it, and my crystals are kind of out of reach. But carnelian has a red color to it. Her colors are silver or white. She's affiliated with the element of water. Her herbs are vervain, myrrh tree, fig. Her mineral or crystal is bloodstone, and her metal is gold. So this is the look that I did today for this subject. Not too bad. I'm starting to get better. Slowly but surely. Tomorrow I promise I will not do a purple look. I know I've done a few of them already in recent weeks. Last week, and I think I did one yesterday, and now I did one today. So tomorrow's subject will be something different, and there will be no purple. I promise. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this content, and if you would be so kind before you leave, please kindly like, subscribe, and set the bell to all so that you can be notified when I upload new videos. And if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, positive or negative. Just make sure it's respectful. Feel free to comment down below. I promise I don't bite. I always am happy to hear back from you guys, and hearing back from you is the highlight of my day. If you did not watch yesterday's video, I have an announcement that on Friday I will be doing a live stream readings. And I've already had one request for one subject, but if you would like to join in, please let me know in the comments down below. What time works best for you for Eastern Standard Time anyway, so that when I do the live stream I can get more people on, or if you want to participate you can be sure to join in the live. And yeah, with all of that said, until next time, I wish you love, I wish you happiness, I wish you hope, I wish you good health, and I wish you brightest blessings, and blessed be.